DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
And welcome back live here to our Wilmington studios at DETV for another sports update. Of course, a little bit of a show transformation coming to you a little bit later on in the off season. We're doing a little bit of a transformation here on DETV Sports that will be coming to you here in the next couple weeks. But as always, we got the crew back together after an off week last week that saw DETV do the Chamber of Commerce dinner. So we are back here now on Monday to talk about over 2 weeks of stuff that's been happening in the sports world. So we've got a lot to get into. Jason McCall, I'm not going to ask you where you were this weekend. We were together hanging out at the HBCU Ball and Classic at the Fieldhouse. Phenomenal event. We had a chance to call those games. 2 fantastic games. A special shout out to Rachel for having us there and being a part of that. She did such a great job with that event. Had a chance to meet the some of the AN1 team, Ben Wallace. Fantastic games that we were able to be a part of.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was an honor to call those games. Shout out to a few of my college classmates from Del State. Got to watch 3 of my nephews essentially playing the games. It was like a light flashing in front of me, like, man, we're really getting old now, seeing them on the court playing. But it was a great time. But yeah, the overall atmosphere was great. It was an amazing showcase, very well put together. Again, shout out to Rachel. And then for me, just meeting Big Ben and then meeting Shane, dribbling machines, like the AN1 mixtapes when I was in that was my high school era. So we're talking about from 9th grade through like all 4 years of high school, AN1 mixtapes every summer, trying to go to the tour in New York, trying to sneak up, go to New York and try to see all those players and watching, having the tapes and having the DVDs and practicing in the basement for hours trying to do all the moves. So it was just crazy to see.
It's crazy to think about. Hopefully, the generation now has an idea of what AN1 was. I remember growing up, I was like 5, 6, 7 wearing. I had AN1 stuff, shoes, sneakers, shorts. I had it all when I was a little kid. So I hope the generation, that this generation has an idea of what that was and what they were able to do, what they meant, for the culture and basketball and everything else like that. So hopefully, if you haven't heard of AN1 and you're watching the show, go back and watch some AN1 stuff. Truly remarkable, and we were like little kids there meeting some of those guys on Saturday. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, you should have seen us. It was a lot of fun. Matt, how we doing? Back here on a Monday, draft lottery over the weekend. You have a chance to watch that. I'm sure you've been working hard on your draft stuff, but how was your weekend overall?
It sucked. Just gonna be honest. I first started out with a cold last week and then broke out in hives and had to get a steroid. So, man. Fun times. And now, I did have time to watch a lot of tape and watch a lot of guys. So I watched you guys on your excellent broadcast.
Thank you, good brother.
You guys did a great job.
I missed you out there.
And I was sad I wasn't a part of it because it was a world-class event. And I think everybody next year should, definitely tune in and go to it and
buy those tickets.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, incredible event. You get there. I mean, just the stuff that you could get there, the T-shirts and everything they were giving away. So it was just a crazy event to be a part of again. And we are already looking forward to next year. It's going to be back at the Fieldhouse in 2025. So we will all be there ready to go for the Ball and Classic 2 over in Wilmington. So you heard a little bit about some of the stuff we talked about in terms of the draft lottery. The NBA playoffs are heating up. So that is where we are going to start, and I couldn't even tell you what we were talking about the last time we were here. It was 2 weeks ago where some of those games were. We had the second round of the playoffs laid out. The Sixers had just been eliminated. We'll talk a little bit about them later, even though it's been over a week since they've been gone, so not too much to say about the Sixers, just maybe their off-season plans and what they're going to do going forward. So coming in, guys, we had our conference finals matchups predicted a few weeks ago. Minnesota and Denver getting it started in the second round of the West, one of the more exciting matchups at this point to the NBA playoffs. Jason had Minnesota winning. I believe Matthew and I had Denver moving on to the Western Conference Finals. But one thing's for sure, that has been a heck of a series so far. It started off with Minnesota and Ant Edwards going into Denver. They take the first 2 games of the series. When both games on the road to start, they take a 2-0 lead. It had a lot of the world, and especially the media, talking about how maybe this series is over. Denver, the defending champs, their run is over. It was a short 1-year run. In Minnesota, some people had them sweeping after the first 2 games going back home with a 2-0 lead. We, of course, if you would have heard from us, would not have said anything like that. But Denver, able to respond. Jason, they take both in Minnesota. they came out with that fire in Game 3, they right out of the gate, and then carried that over into Game 4. Minnesota did not play bad yesterday. Just Denver played very, very well. It was that sequence at the end of the first half that really got them going, the big lead into the locker room. Jamal Murray, fantastic. Nikola Jokic, fantastic again. And Aaron Gordon, very good in that game. So Denver, what a response. They take both games in Minnesota, guys, and here we are, 2-2. Denver gets home court back. Jason, how you feeling about your Minnesota Timberwolves? We sat here on Saturday after the Mavericks game talking a little bit about that series, and you reiterated again that Minnesota was your team going back to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since KG. How do you feel about them now going to Denver after losing that home court going up 2-0 in the series?
Oh, they're going to be angry. They're going to be hungry for Game 5. But they know they cannot lose Game 5 and win the series.
Especially dropping 3 straight.
They lost their defensive intensity in Game 3. They gained a little bit of it back in Game 4. Mm-hmm. But like I was watching Inside the NBA, Charles Barkley said something interesting, which is always he's normally spot on with certain things. Yeah. Some stuff I was like, what you talking about? But this one was spot on, and Matt will kind of agree with this. They only go as far as Cat as a secondary option can take them, because Ant can do everything he can do. He can drop 40 every game. He can do that. But
in this
when Cat doesn't play well, they don't win games. And Rudy Gobert. So what happened in Game 4? What I saw in Game 3, the defensive rotations on and off Jokic are what killed Minnesota in those last 2 games.
And again, not to mention going back to was it Game 2 or 3 that Rudy had to miss?
He missed Game
3, wasn't it 3?
2. He missed Game 2.
So Rudy missed it, and they still won that game too. And then he come back here for Game 3.
But you can see the rotation on defense where Rudy is not a perimeter defender, and Jokic initiates the offense from the high post or from the top of the 3-point line at times. So the give and go off the top of the key, he can't guard that man. He can't guard that action, that hollow action with Murray and Jokic, and then he's coming up, and then you have Cat sliding up, and then you have Gordon backdoor all game long. That's what happened. And then for some reason they were doubling Aaron Gordon. I'm like, why are we doubling Aaron Gordon? You gotta let Jokic and Murray, you gotta play them straight up 1-on-1 and just pick your poison and let everybody else just hopefully they do something. But you can't double people like Aaron Gordon. Then you're leaving KCP open, you're leaving MPJ open, and they're here to open threes, and that's really. And then Aaron Holiday,
and that's kind of the difference. You think of the bench, and the one thing about Denver was, and especially after the playoffs, was lack of depth. They didn't really have anybody coming off the bench, and those first 2 games against Minnesota, they were getting killed in terms of bench points, and some of those guys coming in, in those role player scenarios. For Denver in this game, if you look at Holiday, Brown, and Jackson, they went 6 of 12 from 3. If they hit 6 threes out of those 3 guys, Denver is going to be a lot better off. You saw that as the case here in Game 4, as to why Minnesota didn't play a bad game. Just Denver still able to go on and win big there because of some of those role players finally stepping up, and this time on the road in Minnesota. So that was kind of the question mark with Denver is, what are you going to get from those guys? We got it from them here. They tied the series up, Matt, but can you get it from those guys or expect to get it from them going forward now back to Minnesota? Or, back to Denver now. You're going back home.
I mean, no, but they don't need to anymore. I mean, they already went into Minnesota, and they did what I thought would be hard for them to do, and that's win 2 straight at home against Minnesota. So now the pressure's on all Minnesota, and pressure's on Minnesota tremendously. I can't stress that enough. I mean, essentially, if they don't win this next game, I think it's over. Yeah. And I gotta be honest with you, if it's over, I got no one to blame but Cat. Yeah. I got no one to blame but Rudy Gobert, and I know people aren't gonna like to hear that because people, for some reason, have this soft spot for Rudy Gobert. I don't think he's this NBA Defensive Player of the Year guy that people make him out to be. I think he's a metric guy. And I think when you have these type of moments, when he has to go out there and be a perimeter guy, when he has to switch, it's problem. Great at the rim, great on help defense.
That's about it.
But the switching, going out in the perimeter, that's where I kind of was like, it's always been a sore spot with him on that defensive side. And people, I mean, he's got 4 Defensive Player of the Year's award. I mean, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to say he's not. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's got 4 of them. He's looked at arguably, if we're being honest, like
you say he's the best defensive player in the league right now. I mean, if you
No,
asked, if you
no,
were to pull-
in history, he got 4.
he's got 4.
He's
Yeah,
got
That's what
4
I'm saying.
now. Like,
I mean, it's not a debate if you go around the league.
But is he? But
Well, we talk about this every year when we get to the playoffs, right?
But
every
no,
year
it's
it's
just-
what happens.
but
with
it's
Rudy.
bigger than
But
that. It's like-
I will say this: in the first series, he was very good, and I thought in the first game he was very good. Also, they played Jokic straight up 1-on-1, like you said, and he kind of played that rover roll by the rim, and he took away everything, all those lobs to Aaron Gordon. That's why they went up 2-0.
Correct.
But you're right, and yeah, a little bit of X and O's, right? Mike Malone comes out here
Yeah.
in game 3 and 4, and they pull him out, right? They get him in some of those mismatches, and again, like Matt said, when you pull him out away from the rim, that's your best
He's
chance.
in trouble.
yeah,
for sure.
But also, let's be honest. This was Wemby's award this year for Defensive Player of the Year. Like, there's no way Wemby should have gotten
It's close, but-
No, there's no close. If you look at their numbers.
They were one of the worst teams in the league. And I get it. It's defensive player of the year, so you
but
don't want to
if
look
you
at that
look
too
at their
much.
numbers,
Oh, he was great.
His
Yeah.
numbers were way better at every statistical category.
Now,
than
this
Rudy.
is an interesting conversation because this is where I have a problem with the NBA because I don't think they put enough into what goes into an award. So anybody
Yeah,
who
you
tells
can-
me that Rudy Gobert got the award because he had the most defensive win shares, okay, I can go with that.
And Minnesota was the #1 defensive team.
See,
in the
but then that's team.
Well, you got both, but
we're
I'm
giving
saying
an
you got both
individual
individual
award.
award.
Where if they
giving
were
an
different, like if
individual
one
award.
was way different than the other, I could get that.
But
argument.
if you
They're
look at
both #1,
but
you
if
know.
you look at everything other than the defensive win shares, Wemby got them.
You're talking about like stats like blocks per game, et
Blocks
cetera.
per game, block percentage,
Everything.
He's got them. The only thing he misses is the defensive win shares. Rudy Gobert gets the most defensive win shares.
And the Timberwolves are way better. Too.
But that's the problem I have with the NBA awards as a whole. It's subjective at best. It's because it's whatever narrative we want to give. That's the way we're going to go.
Yeah, and we're giving the European narrative again with Jokic winning the third MVP.
I don't really have a problem with Jokic winning the third one, but I will say this.
I don't have a problem with it, but
I'll say this. I'll say this about Jokic. It proved to me what I always knew, and that is writers are very vindictive. They were going to give him this award whether we didn't think he should get it or not, because at the end of the day, they felt they wanted to give it to him last year. And the reason why they didn't want to give it, the reason why they couldn't give it to him last year is because Michael didn't win 3 in a row, LeBron didn't win 3 in a row, and there's no way, and I'm telling you this right now, there's no way in the history of the game somebody's going to get another 3 in a row. I think that's dead. I don't think that's ever going to happen. And they wanted to give it to him last year, so this is kind of like the revenge. They don't care.
Consolation prize.
Yeah, they don't care. You're going to get the MVP award. And again, that's the problem I also have with the MVP award, because it's like, well, what are we giving it to him? The first one he got, they were a 6 seed. People said he had a triple-double. Second one he got, okay, so you're telling me he's that good of a player that he gets back-to-back MVPs. They don't win a title. Then, third one, you set yourself up. Now you can't give him the third one, and you're salty. So then it comes out like, okay. So I don't really have a problem with him winning the award. What I had a problem with, honestly, was that he got so many first-place votes. So it lets me know the writers basically are saying, we don't care what Shai did. We don't care what anybody else did. We're going to give this man the MVP award because we felt like he should have got it last year.
SGA should have won the MVP. I'm staying on that hill this season. I don't care.
It was clear, and I'm not going to die on it, but I wouldn't have been at all opposed to that.
And if I'm being a little hot take here, I would argue that Anthony Davis should have been more in a Defensive Player of the Year conversation than he actually was. I would have been okay with him.
Where did he finish? You guys know where he finished? He had to be top 4.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? I would imagine.
But I'm saying, like, I would have even, like, I could even see the NBA, okay, Anthony Davis getting the award if they weren't going to give the Wemby either. Like, I could see that too. I would have been. So I would be more okay with AD winning that award, but not.
It goes back
But
to what
Tatum
Matt
wasn't
said,
even in
though.
the top 3 though of the MVP discussion.
And that's a travesty.
And that pisses me off too, because in other years they say, well, if you're the best player on the best team, you got votes. You got votes.
And that's how I feel. I've said that on the show. And again, I'm not a Celtics guy. We all know that.
We know that.
But I've said it, and I brought this up on a different broadcast the other day. I think maybe me and you talked about it on Saturday. Is I don't get, and again, the disrespect for Jason Tatum in terms of those voting. I mean, I get it. The Celtics are set up. They got a great team, et cetera. But to punish somebody, for it seems like 2 consecutive years.
I don't think he
now.
finished higher than 7th ever in voting. Like.
And again, I think people are holding the playoff performances against him, obviously.
But that's my whole
years.
problem.
And I'm with you. I agree.
But
Shouldn't
it's
be
not
like
based
that.
on playoffs, though.
It's not based on
and I will
anything.
say, and back to your point, Matt, the awards of the NBA, I think, are the most like that
Narrative
too,
driven.
by far. Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
and it could be, and they do this every single year. And to go back to the writers being the ones that vote on, I think there's got to be, and maybe that'll never change because that's how it's been. But I find that even a little bit. That those guys decide who wins those awards. I think it should be maybe a committee in the NBA, something different. I don't think those guys should be able to do that. Because as Matt said, those guys have personal relationships. They have so many other agendas going on with these votes. Who knows, how many of them are as genuine as they are.
Now, I will say this, and this is the other thing that people are going to get pissy about in the future. If he gets, let's say Jokic gets another one.
Oof, that.
He has
And that's possible.
He can probably get 2 more.
That's crazy.
So here's the problem. So when you look at the center position, and everybody at home look at the center position, it's probably the most loaded in any position in any sport other than maybe QB. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Because the average top 5 center, and we're talking about Hakeem, Shaq, Wilt, Kareem, Bill Russell, You're talking about a minimum of 3 MVPs, 4 titles. This is on average what they have. 6 first-team All-NBA selections. So at the end of the day, and we're not even touching the defensive part. And the defensive part, no one wants to talk about with Jokic.
Well,
so my question is,
don't talk about it at all.
If he never goes up far, I think he's past Moses Malone. Okay, so Moses I had above him. I think Jokic is past Moses.
We're big Moses on
You're big Moses on the show, but I do think he's past him.
Okay.
Moses wasn't a spectacular shot blocker, so I guess we could kind of argue that Jokic's offensive abilities are better. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that, and I think he's an impressive rebounder. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much farther he moves up that center position because he doesn't play D.
Man, I still take the Admiral over Jokic. I'm sorry.
The Admiral. Wow.
That's just me. I'll take Alonzo Mourning over Jokic.
But
I
do think the way the NBA gives these awards, I think you're going to run into a situation in the future. Yeah, the future is going to be a fight because people are going to have. Look at how people struggle with Steve Nash's MVPs. They struggle with them.
I compared the other day on Facebook, and people got mad at me. I compared Jokic's MVPs to Steve Nash's MVPs.
Oh my gosh!
And it was like, what did you say? I said what I said. Ooh. They're very Nash-esque MVPs.
Nasty work right there.
That he was given.
I give Jokic way more credit than that. I think Nash is.
I don't.
Nash is.
I give Jokic 1 MVP. Just like I said, I give Nash 1 MVP. But 2 and 3, no.
At least 2. I'm going at least 2 for you.
No.
I give Jokic 2.
I think Jokic only should have 1. The first one I get.
What's the one
I
you
think
argue?
gotta watch. I think you got to watch.
What's the one you argue with Jokic?
I think Embiid should have been back-to-back.
Huh?
The year when Jokic went, Jokic had the second one. Embiid had.
It was close.
It was
year.
similar, like some numbers to the one.
I think it was close, but I think it was good. I don't have.
I think Embiid missed some more.
The only one I fight with Jokic is the first one where they were a 6 seed.
Okay.
For me, I just don't. I have a problem giving.
Was that before the play-in?
Yes.
Before
yes.
Before the play-in, before the
bubble, yeah, all that.
Before the bubble, yeah.
And they said they gave it to him.
And that was when he went on that run in the bubble.
They said they gave it to him because he averaged a triple-double.
That was a Russell Westbrook argument.
Russell Westbrook argument, and I didn't like. I wasn't a fan of the Russell Westbrook MVP. I got it because we never thought a triple-double was possible. Yeah. So I got the argument, but I didn't like that either. I'm just saying, for me, Jokic, I don't really argue with. I argue the first one. The other 2 that he's got, I can't really argue with it. Even this year, I can't really argue with it. I do think Shai was deserving. I thought Tatum was deserving. And I think Jokic is deserving. So I don't really have a problem with either one.
I think Luka in that mix, too.
And Luka too. But also with NBA, with MVPs, we can really sit here and break down LeBron's entire career. Like, wait, he should probably have 3 more. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He has 4.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
He has 4, but he should really have 7.
But see,
and Kobe has.
That's the fight. But that's the fight I always have, because it's amazing to me how these sports writers out here, and I'm talking to you guys that I know personally, who when I was growing up, they said I have voter fatigue. I can't vote Michael Jordan again. It makes my hand hurts. I can't vote LeBron again. Dude, where's this voter fatigue for some of these players that you guys like? Because with Jokic, you don't seem to have voter fatigue. You seem to have voter enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out why with Jordan and LeBron, there was all this voter fatigue. And yet with some of these other players, like, you're just gung-ho. You're all for it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Because think about it. Because like you said, the voter fatigue. Because remember, 93 and 97 are the 2 years that George won MVP, but it went to Barkley and Malone. 93, 97.
Yeah, and let me say one other. Let me just
He
say
didn't
one
like
other
both
thing
of
too.
those.
Let me just say one other thing too, because I know we got some morons out here that think something. Let me tell you something. We're having an intelligent conversation. It's not xenophobic to question things. I know some of you guys love to use that new word because you just looked it up and that's the word you want to use now. Listen, I can have this conversation because I'm qualified to have this conversation. If I have a problem with MVPs, I can talk about it in an educational way that makes sense. Now, if you want to take and draw from that I'm being xenophobic because we're happening to talk about a player that's international, then you're an idiot. Because I thought that Steve Nash, who's Canadian, by the way, and who everybody thinks is mini USA, we don't even think they're really real. Okay, let's just be honest. Steve Nash has, to me, Dirk Nowitzki's MVP, and I'm a big Dirk guy.
Yeah.
So when you guys come out there and you
so
say we're
underrated.
being xenophobic, that's because you're an idiot. We just sat up here and we said Wemby should win Defensive Player of the Year. We just sat up here and we said that Wemby had a top 10 rookie year. You guys are listening slow because you guys got too much of your emotions. Just listen to what we're trying to have an educated conversation about and stop coming with the Fox News hot takes, bro. We're in here talking about real basketball. Stop trying to come on talking about, you Americans are having problems because Europeans are coming over and killing us. Perhaps you don't know this, but in the hood, we love Dirk Diggler. We never had a problem with Dirk, dog. We love Dirk. You know how many rappers use the words AK in their song for AK-47? I mean, come on, dog. Come on, man. Stop, man. Look,
Sabonis, like, we can keep going.
We love
Petrovic,
the culture,
come on,
man. Peja. Come on,
Tony
man.
Kukoc, like we can keep
Stop
going.
talking this nonsense, man. We love the international game and we love the international players, but we ain't gonna sit here and lie either and say there hasn't been no push by the NBA to make some of this happen. We gotta stop the cat. I'm not saying Jokic ain't, and we just had this conversation on here. I said he was deserving of MVPs. To me, I don't think he's a slam dunk guy that. We're talking about what, 4 MVPs and 3 MVPs in 4 years, like that's
Because
a
then
little
you're talking
bit
right, almost best of all time status,
correct,
right? Which is a little crazy to say.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard when you have these future conversations. Like Steve Nash, he played in the era with Jason Kidd. I don't know if Jason Kidd is I think Jason Kidd's a better point guard than Steve Nash.
Got a champion.
Okay,
Not that that matters.
I think a lot of people, if you ask most people who watch the '90s, will say that they think Kidd was better than Nash, and most of it was the defense.
I think Gary Payton was better than Nash still.
Right, John Stockton
was
better than Nash to most people.
Never won an MVP.
Never won MVP. Isaiah Thomas. So when you have these future conversations and you start counting up MVPs, it does make the conversation messy because you can sit there and be like, well, none of these guys got MVPs, but Nash got 2. So it does have an effect when we start talking about legacies and stuff.
I got one name, another name at point guard. We're gonna talk about MVPs and point guard play. Mm-hmm. What does Chris Paul have? And Chris Paul has a way better resume.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Chris Paul could have been with that year at the Rockets had he not had that hammy injury.
All those years early in New Orleans when he was just
Him and
playing
David
out his
West,
mind.
pick and
He's
roll,
playing out
pick
of
and
his
pop.
mind.
Out his mind. It was never even top 5 in MVP conversation.
It's a fact.
And who knows? Maybe if that trade goes through with him going to the Lakers.
Oh, the first
you know,
one? Yeah.
back then. You never know.
first trade?
But we're gonna head back again.
Yeah.
Great discussion there on the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Quickly before we move on, sticking with the Timberwolves. I'm assuming
I'm
here
sticking with
in
Timberwolves
7.
Still going to Timber?
I'm gonna go in 6. Back to back.
I'm sticking
Bang,
with
bang.
you. I'm
I'm
sticking
still
with
with
Denver, right?
Denver.
Yeah, we're gonna stick
Still
with
with Denver.
Denver.
I'm going with
I think all our
6.
conference finals predictions are still. I know me and Matt had Dallas, Denver in the West. You had
Yep.
Minnesota.
I had Minnesota and
OKC.
OKC, yeah.
And then I forget. We obviously Boston, and I had the winner of the Knicks and Sixers, which is kind of a.
I think you had Sixers going on.
Yeah, I did the
Yeah,
Sixers.
you had Sixers
I said
going
whoever
on.
wins, but I did go with the Sixers. So I thought the Sixers pull that one out. But speaking of the Knicks and the Pacers, it was a just like Minnesota, a very fine 2 games to open up the series for New York at the Garden. They take a 2-0 series lead. Things looking great before heading back to Indiana. Rick Carlisle in Indiana, they're not happy with the way the officiating has been, as the Sixers fans and public were in that opening series. But Rick Carlisle fined $35,000 at the end of Game 2 for criticizing the officials, basically saying, the small market teams, don't get the calls that the big market teams will. And usually in past years, you see that fine soar over $35,000. Not this time, just $35,000 for Carlisle there. And it worked out, I will say, in the next 2 games. The whistle was a little bit better, in my opinion. But I will say, and Matt, this goes back to your point, something we talked about weeks ago on the show, was the way that they're officiating the game, right? And when we talked, this was maybe a month or 2 ago, it was not physical at all. We talked about the lack of physicality, and it seems like what was crazy was the week after we talked about it, Adam Silver had a meeting with the NBA and the officials, and they came out and said, we are going to let this game be more physical.
Hey, come here.
And it was crazy because I remember it perfectly. Right after we had this exact discussion, it changed almost drastically, like a complete 180. So now we're seeing that in the playoffs. Last 2 games, they are letting these guys play. We talked about that physicality. Is that something that you have noticed too? And what do you think about that here in the last month or 2 of the NBA?
I not only noticed it, but I think this is what Adam Silver is going to try to put into play.
You think he was watching the show? He must have been listening to you a few weeks ago.
I think if he's a smart man, he's listening to us. But I can tell you this: I think he knows that the era of beautiful basketball
has to come to an end.
Has to come to an end on some level. It's not because
I agree.
It's because the universal market likes physical games. I know. Again, if you're an American, I'm not saying this if you're a smart American. I'm saying this if you're just a stereotypical American. But most Americans think that Europeans don't like physical games because that's how we were taught. When we were kids in the 80s, hey, this kid comes over from whatever, Spain or Italy, or he doesn't like physical play. That's changed now. They with EuroLeague and a lot of the players that come over, they're a lot more physical than some of our guys because, again, the NBA has kind of opened up the play and allowed things to be a lot more.
And very recently.
Finesse, and I think it's ran havoc with international competitions when we bring over Team USA because a lot of those players struggle to acclimate themselves to the level of physicality that's being presented to them.
Saw that.
And also with the style of play, physical isn't just beating people up. Physical is also being fundamental, like shooting, like the mid-range game, having actual post play.
Correct.
What the American game used to have that doesn't have anymore. That's what the European game has now.
In spades.
And it's we're switching roles.
Yeah.
But to say that the European players weren't physical enough, that's a lie because they were playing pro ball at 13 and 14 as kids, getting beat the hell up. Like this, they've been getting beat up as kids. So they come to the NBA 18, 19, have already played 5 years of pro ball, which is why you see Wemby, even as small as his frame, but he's been playing pro ball for like 4 or 5 years. So you see them coming over with a mindset of how to be professional, how to know how to travel and limit distractions, but also playing against grown competition. And our players are still just playing AAU and high school ball. AAU is a complete joke if we're going to be honest about it.
It's gotten worse.
And then you got one and done college ball. People being paid to play at different schools and switching schools like you change underwear. I mean, what are we doing? Like there's no set foundation for players to actually grow and build. We thought we had that with the G League Ignite. You see, that's fizzled. That's not going to be here any longer. I mean, so we really have to revamp what the brand of USA basketball looks like overall from a grassroots standpoint. And hopefully Grant Hill and those guys will get something together and get it right. Because right now,
seems like they got a good roster.
Here's the thing: we have a good young roster, but we had a good roster, decent roster in 04 with the Browns.
That one hurts. Yeah, that one, the 04 when Irish.
We had a good roster in the 07 World Cup. Did nothing. 2010 World Cup with Curry and them, and then so it's like we've had other teams that have had decent players.
Yep.
But because of the style of play, they could, like Matt alluded to earlier, they couldn't adapt.
And I'm just going to say, though, I'm glad, though, to see that they made that, decision to get more physical. I think it's, been at least more fun to watch, more competitive, especially in the playoffs here last week. I mean, we've seen it especially with Dallas and OKC in that series. They've been really physical there, as well as the Knicks and the Pacers. But just to now zero in on the Knicks and Indiana here quickly, 2-2. Indiana coming into this one, obviously underdogs to win the series. They struggled to get by broken Milwaukee team in that first round with Doc Rivers, but they get the job done there.
Yep.
And they really turned the page in Game 3. They came out, and in order for Indiana to get the series, you could argue Tyrese Halliburton had to be the best player on the floor if they wanted to win that series. Well, they were getting great minutes out of him. He's been phenomenal the last 3 games. Siakam has had a really good opening series against Milwaukee. He's been solid. T.J. McConnell's been really good.
Former Sixer,
for
should have kept him.
Indiana. I mean, he's been fantastic defensively, offensively.
really well.
And not only that, but it seems like the injuries are catching up to the Knicks now, right? OG Anunoby with that hamstring, and in my opinion, I would argue you're not going to see him the rest of this series.
No.
And hopefully, maybe if they win, you'll see him in the Eastern Conference Finals if you're a Knicks fan. No OG. Mitchell Robinson out 5 to 6 weeks. Josh Hart playing 48 minutes a game. If you don't get the big three, the Villanova big three, to have a phenomenal game of Dante shooting 50% from 3 and scoring 30-plus points, they've really struggled. Dante got hurt late in Game 3. Hasn't been the same since. He's played, I think he's hit 1 or 2 threes his last 5 quarters since taking that rough fall in Game 3. Josh Hart's playing 48 minutes a game. He finally admitted after the other loss, Game 4 loss, that he's tired. They got a 6-man rotation right now over there at MSG for the Knicks with Coach Tom Thibodeau. Brunson is averaging 2.5 inches less per jump on his jump shot the last 2 games in the regular season average. He is being run into the ground. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep this going. I love the Knicks in this series coming in, but they are being run down here by Indiana all over the floor in the last 2 games. They do have a nice break before taking the floor again, and then in Game 7. So they got a nice break for 6 and 7 coming up. How faithful are you in the New York Knicks to get this done with that injury-prone roster?
I didn't have them win the series before it started. I told you on the
That's
air.
true, yeah.
I picked the Pacers before the series started because I thought the Pacers' pace of play,
Completely different styles.
they will run you in the ground, and that's essentially what has happened over the last 2.5 games.
And that even, to your point, that happens even more so when you got a 6-7-man rotation.
That's what I'm saying,
With
yeah.
New York, if you would go through the guys, right? Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle is out. Now you've got OG Anunoby out.
And remember, you
and
lost Bogdan before the series
And
started.
Bogdanovich, that's right. So those are
started.
4 of your
Playoffs
6
started.
or 7 guys that you run in the playoffs.
But again, this is typical Thibodeau. Like, he runs all of his star players into the ground. I still blame him for Derrick
And that's
Rose being
historically, but that
I'm
one was
sorry.
insane.
I
But I
blame
will say,
Derrick Rose, I blame
where do
Jimmy
you want him
Butler.
to go though now on the bench? I mean, you got McBride coming off. Some of those other, you got 2-way G League players at the end of the bench. I don't know where you expect him to go though.
He has to be pressure to chew more. He has to
Well,
be
yeah,
pressure
he's
more.
gonna. Well, now he has no choice. He's played a little bit.
But he should
more
be playing
here.
more anyway,
Like in
because-
Game 4, I want to check out his stats.
I think Jericho Sims should get more playing time.
Jericho Sims. Haven't heard that. He got 15 minutes in the last game and did score 4 points. That Jericho Sims.
I mean, he's athletic. enough.
Precious
He can
played
get
24 minutes, 8 points, 6 rebounds, was negative 22. But you know, take that for what it is because the whole team had a bad game.
And quiet as kept, the Knicks miss Obi Toppin.
I will say this, and again, just on that, I was never an Obi Toppin fan. Didn't like him coming out of Dayton, etc. He has played so much better this year. I know he had some bad blood with the Knicks last year when he left. There was a lot of tension there. You could go as far as to say he does not like the Knicks at all.
Oh, he doesn't.
He's looked way better than I would have thought at all here in the play. Even this year with Indiana, and especially in the playoff, he's playing like he's got bad blood against New York.
Listen. Obi went to a better situation for him, and
14 points
he's showing it.
off the bench, plus 21 for Obi Toppin in Game 4.
I mean, and that's what you get. But like I said, the pace that the Pacers played with was going to be too much for the Knicks anyway. I saw that before the series started, and the Pacers have a deeper roster. That's what I also saw. I saw that the depth. So,
and let me ask you this: coaching matchup. Who would you take if you had to coach one game, Carlisle or Thibodeau?
Carlisle.
Taking Carlisle. He already has a ring. What are we doing?
I take Carlisle too. It's close. I'm not a Tom Thibodeau hater, but I would take Carlisle in that scenario.
Carlisle is a better X and O's guy than Tibbs is. Tibbs, if you want a defensive guy, Tibbs is your man. But you want X and O's and actually plays Rand, you got to go with Carlisle all day.
So here we go, Matt. They're going back
Yep.
to the Garden. Knicks have home court advantage for the final.
Yep.
It's a 3-game series. They got 2 at the Garden, a nice break in between there, as I just alluded to. They're banged up. Where are you leaning here? They got to win 2 games at the Garden. I'm going with the Knicks in the final 3 games with those 2 home courts. I think they'll get the calls at home. I think they're going to get them in the Garden. I think they're going to be tough, grind-out games, one or 2 possession games. I think the Knicks are still going to hold on to win the series just because they got that home court going forward. 2 out of the final 3 games. Where do you stand?
The problem with the Knicks is the Pacers are the reverse. They have a lot of depth that they're not even using. I mean, they have.
Can they give some to the Knicks?
McConnell, for example, Ben Shepherd, who stepped up last game.
Hit some
you
big
you have
shots.
Topping, you have Doug McDermott, you have Kendall
McConnell's been
Brown,
the biggest.
you have Jabari Smith, you have Jarace Walker, who he was a top 10 pick last year.
And
Like he's just sitting on the bench. Like there's a lot of bodies there, man. So like I think the biggest problem, and look, I've been on record about this. I'm not a Josh Hart guy. I don't know if he's a guy that I would want to feel comfortable with building a roster around or being my second option on a team. I don't know. I don't like it. But look, that I know they're finding themselves the way they are because they got some injuries. But I just look, man. I just think Brunson at this point has got so much work. He's almost got to play a perfect game, and I just think that's very difficult.
If Josh
He's right.
Hart
I
is
think
your
you're right. I
second
think he
option,
does.
it's a problem. Sorry.
And that's what and this goes back to what I said. Halliburton is the best player on the floor, and that goes with Brunson. If Halliburton's better than Brunson, the Pacers, and that's the only way I thought the Pacers would win the series, and he has been. The last 3 games, Halliburton has been better than Brunson. So we'll see what happens going forward. Hopefully Brunson, after a few days rest, can get those legs back under him. I know they're all dealing with injuries.
It's not even going to matter, but the X factor to the series now, with no real big men, Miles Turner's going to have a feast.
He's been good.
Next few games.
Better.
And Hardenstein's been good for New York as well.
Turner rebounds like he's a
And he's
point
been
guard,
shooting the ball,
Yeah,
too.
he rebounds like Brook Lopez.
3 for 3 from 3-point line in the last game for Miles Turner.
That's
so
true.
he's stretching the floor.
Yeah, he's definitely
He's
stretching.
knocking down shots. Aaron Naismith, Carlisle switching Naismith on to Jalen Brunson a few games ago. Brunson 9 for 27.
Yeah,
with the
because he was
primary
cooking them
defender.
hard before that.
Oh,
That's why.
cooking is
Yeah.
understatement.
He
It was
was-
almost
yeah.
like he wasn't even there. I think he was shooting
Yeah.
60%
He was
from the
cooking
floor.
them.
35 points on 60% from the floor against
Blender every time.
Nemhard. And so they made that switch 9 to 27 in the last 2 games for Brunson. And again, with that, losing that lift in his jump, it seems like the injury's getting to him, fatigue's getting to him. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to stick with the Knicks. They're with grind out here. So you're leading Indiana the rest of the way?
Yeah, I think they just get worn down.
And you are going Indiana. Yeah, and that could very well happen here. So those 2 games. Let's go to the final 2 games here left, and let's head over to the Celtics and Cavaliers. They're underway right now. Jason, just want to get your quick thoughts. 18-10, Celtics out in front early. No Donovan Mitchell in this game. No Jared Allen. After Game 2, Cleveland did what Miami did in that series. They win Game 2, a hot shooting night on the road at Boston. Things 1-1 as we go to Cleveland. So a little bit of I talked to you over the weekend. I said, how nervous were you? You said, nah, you didn't care about that Game 2 loss. Well, they came out, took care of business in Game 3. And now, kind of crazily, no Donovan Mitchell, the calf injury here in Game 4. I hadn't really heard too much about that until today. And now the Celtics on the road, up by 11, with no Donovan Mitchell, no Jared Allen. The series over.
What did Vince Carter do with the dunk contest?
It's over.
And I'm with you there. I think not much.
it's over.
It's over. But honestly, it was going to be over in 5 either way.
Yeah,
I knew
agree with
Cleveland had to
that.
get at least 1 game.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
But the way Boston has been playing,
I think we all had Boston
and
at 5.
the thing is, though, the key to this Boston team is, and with this is without Porzingis still. Let's think about that for a
that's a
second.
good point.
Derek White has been carrying this team.
I mean, it's. And
think
he
about
was
it.
always a good player. He was a good player with San Antonio. He really was a first-round pick out of Colorado. He was a good player with San Antonio. But once he went to Boston, I mean, he is just really
Then you
been
have
fantastic.
Payne Pritchard hitting threes and actually guarding
From the
people
logo.
now.
He was from the logo.
I don't like his hairline though, but yeah.
I mean, and Tatum finally answered the critics with a big game in Game 3. But y'all got to stop. What else does he have to do? What else Tatum really have to do?
Who, Tatum?
Yeah.
Not play like a robot.
I mean, but he's rigid in his motions anyway. That we all know that. You see it.
Yeah.
Like that's how he is. Like we talked about this last year about how his movement is throughout the floor of the offense, and he's very robotic, but he gets it done.
Yeah,
He does.
And his numbers.
and I will say again,
Oh, there.
Jaylen Brown's been better as well. I mean, when you get in the playoffs,
Yeah, he's dribbling both hands now.
There you go. Let's say the turnovers in the playoffs have been an issue.
Like-
But again, Al Horford seems to be ageless. Drew Holiday was obviously a great addition. Peyton Pritchard's been great off the bench. Hauser's been.
Hauser's been.
Shout out
good.
Luke Cornett, man.
Luke Cornett.
Cornett.
Listen, man. Luke Cornett's been. He's been good. He's been all right. But this series is over.
As the series
Yeah.
over, you
Series
agree.
over.
Series
Yeah,
over. We're going to
series
say wrap this thing up in 5. We'll see if the Cavaliers have any life in them. Maybe they make this one close. Donovan Mitchell, I thought Donovan Mitchell's been fantastic.
He has been, but
he has been fantastic. Just
no
like
help.
Kara was fantastic
No help.
for Orlando. You're right. No help there. We won't talk long about this or if at all today, but who knows where he ends up next year. He will not sign that extension with
Knicks tape.
Cleveland. So
Nick State. He's going to New York. mixtape.
So here's the thing, and that was the issue with the backcourt in Cleveland was Garland and Mitchell, two small guards in the backcourt. How do you think the backcourt of Brunson and Mitchell would be?
It's better than what they got now.
Oh yeah, I agree, but I'm just in terms of
Because you cannot win a championship.
If you're signing two of those back, you guys are gonna lock them up. They're gonna be two max contracts.
But you cannot continue to start like the Knicks gonna have this Nova Knicks thing will have to be broken up at some point because you
I
can't.
don't know if
play all
that's to be
three of them
broken up,
in
but you
the
got to bring in better players. And I agree with Matt. Like I love Josh Hart, but he's not going to be your second or third. Like he would be the best role player in the league when you have a big two or a big three. Yeah. But I think that's where they got to go next, and they've got the assets to do it. The question is, who is it going to be?
And Dante's not a starter either.
Oh, come on.
He's not.
Not a starter?
He's not a starter.
Have you been watching the Knicks?
I haven't watched. He's not a starter. He's getting minutes.
Oh,
That's
my
only.
goodness.
If you get enough minutes, you
Not
should
a
be doing
starter?
something. He's not
He
a
said he's
starter.
not a starter. Let me give you
He's
his
not a
numbers the
starter.
last couple games.
I think he's a decent starter.
I do too.
Okay. Look,
Here's his last 5 games, Jason.
He's
Let
a
me give you
fringe
some.
starter. in this
35 points, 28 points, 25 points, 23 points are his last 4 games.
league. Okay, you can read it all to me, but where has he started in the NBA outside of New York? Don't
He's
worry, I'll
finally
wait.
healthy.
I
He's in a
don't want to hear it.
comfortable
Don't worry, I'll wait.
situation.
Did he start in Milwaukee?
He did
Am I
not start in
tripping?
Milwaukee.
Am I tripping?
He did for a while before
I thought
he broke
after
his
Grayson
leg.
left. Am I tripping?
No, he was on there for a while, but not like
Maybe I'm
Not like this though.
Yeah,
No,
but I
sure.
think it's all about opportunity, right? You see these guys in the NBA, they just need a chance, need an opportunity, and then they come on.
I think Dante's decent.
I think Dante's
he do worse.
good.
I think he do worse.
I would have
Decent.
loved to see him in Philly in the offseason. I thought that was somewhere they should have
Sure.
got him.
Look, I don't think he's a championship starter, if that's what I'm saying, but he's a playoff starter.
I said fringe starter. Fringe.
Yeah, I do. I think he could be a starter on a championship team. I mean, like I said, you got to bring other guys in to be the stars. He's not a star.
Man, come on. What are you doing?
What do you mean? Really? Like, if you're telling me if they go out and get, like, hypothetically speaking, a Paul George and somebody else, Dante can't be your starting
The only
two-guard?
starter he on championship for is Sally's. Other than that, he don't start on a championship team.
Man,
Come on,
that's
man. Don't do that.
tough.
Don't do that.
Championship?
No.
Man, I don't
Sally's a
know.
no,
tough,
not
man. Tough
NBA.
crowd.
No, not NBA.
I just said
Sorry.
the big Ragu could play for my team. I'd be happy. I ain't a tough crowd.
Hey.
I'm not a tough crowd.
Going
at me.
forward, though, Celtics, obviously wrapping this thing up. Let's
definitely
quickly
gonna
talk
at you.
about Thunder and the Mavericks.
Yep.
It's been a pretty fun series so far. OKC looked really good in game 1. They get to win. Dallas then comes back and steals game 2 and 3. So, Matt, Dallas, a team that me and you both had heading to the Western Conference Finals. They had a great second half to the season. The defense was phenomenal down the stretch after those 2 acquisitions, the trade deadline. And one of those guys being P.J. Washington, who has been fantastic. I mean, the last couple of games, what have you liked what you've seen from Dallas? And do you have them, of course, sticking with them over OKC here? And OKC, a young team, Shea's been good.
Shea's been good.
But Dallas, we're 1-2 straight now.
Yeah, I mean, if they can continue to get consistent points from P.J. Washington, I mean, that's huge for them. I mean, because Kyrie's a given, Doncic is a given. The all problems for Dallas has always been who's the third guy that can get us some points. If P.J. Washington can be that 15, 16-point-a-game guy, that's going to be huge for them. Huge. I really like that. I like Gafford. I like the little situation they got with him. The only other part I don't like is they don't really have anybody else on the team that I like that I would want to have start from my squad, man.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Derrick Jones Jr. What he brings to
Yes.
what he brings to the table. But I see exactly what you're saying there, and how realistic is it? P.J. Washington's been very good, a very good player. But can he keep that going? Like you said, can he give you 16 a game the rest of the playoffs? And if he can, they're going to be tough to beat. And with that being said, Luka's not been great in the playoffs in the first 2 rounds. He's been banged up. He can't get much lift. Like we said about Jalen Brunson, that 3-ball has been awful. He's shooting 26% from 3, yet they're still winning ball games.
But again, this is where his other skills come into play.
Exactly right, and
And this is what Matt alluded to even last year going into this year. He said Luka has to learn to play the game without scoring.
Yes, right.
And he's doing that.
He is.
And he's playing defense.
And that's what I'm saying.
He's
But Matt said this
playing actual
on this show.
defense.
Matt said, Luka, when I go to the next level, so he learns how to share the ball and how to play the game without scoring.
The haters doesn't like to hear that, though.
And he said that, and we know it was true because we all 3 of us see the same thing.
You're right.
And he's giving, okay, Kyrie, go be Kai.
Yep.
He's doing what LeBron did. Yo, Kyrie, go be Kai. I'll support you.
Right.
And that's how they're winning these games right now. And Gafford and Washington are great pickups for Dallas. And you're seeing
Huge
that.
pickups.
And the defense cannot be understated. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the league through the first half of the year.
And
the All-Star
and
break.
Luka looks like he's having fun out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks relaxed.
He's not stressing.
Yeah. I think this is his best season.
Yeah, and we're seeing the effort. I mean, that was always the big thing, right? Effort on defense. I mean, he's actually playing defense, coming up with steals. Playing physical. He's using that size. Like
Kyrie's playing defense.
Kyrie is definitely playing defense. Absolutely right. So this team, I'm telling you, you look at the roster. Those few additions at the deadline we all liked here cost them a couple first-round picks. Yep. Not a problem. Here they are now, the 2-1 lead in the Western Conference semis.
I'll say this right now. If Dallas gets out of this round, they might go to the finals.
I don't hate. Like I said, we're big supporters of Dallas here since that trade.
I know I still have the Timberwolves going, but Dallas, what Dallas is doing right now, what they're showing me is that Jason Kidd is the coach that we thought he was.
Sure.
They're showing me that Kyrie is still Kyrie, still got left some of the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if Luka's not going off yet, that means that's scary for everybody else.
And I feel that way too. If he finds that shot, if he starts hitting some of these,
and that's what I see. So if they can get out of this series, they have a real shot to go to Western Conference Finals and then to the NBA Finals. Like I can see that. I'm not saying championship by any means.
41%.
But can they make it there?
Floor.
Yes, they probably could.
Luka shooting 41% from the floor, 26% from three.
Yep.
That's going to have to come up. And when it does, like Jason said, if it comes up in that series against Denver, the issue is, for me...
Wait, hold on. You already got Denver beating Timberwolves?
Yeah.
You said against Denver?
Yeah, we both do.
But I'm going to say, and to me, though, the health, too, is something's obvious. I think
the haters, Denver, that's who we picked. The haters out there.
You picked the Euro matchup, Denver.
The Euro matchup.
That's right. Oh, God, we did.
I'm anti-Euro.
There we go. But there's one thing that worries me about Dallas right now. Just one is the health of Luka. He doesn't look 100%. He said he's not 100%. Maybe
that boy be smoking Marlboros, man. Let that man.
And maybe that's it. But the lift isn't there. We talk about Brunson. He's dealing with an injury.
Smoking them cools, man.
So if he's able to, just stick it out, which I think he will, I'm going with Dallas. Us two going with Dallas. So now, man, some big words about Dallas and the chance to advance. Are you switching down from OKC? No, still not.
I'm not switching.
And of course, death taxes and Shea giving you 30. He does it again. We'll see if the Thunder can help out him around him. And Jalen Williams has been great. I'm a huge Jalen Williams fan. But they're going to need more. They're going to need more offensively if they want to stick up with Luka and Kyrie.
What they need is Josh Giddey.
To do what?
Something.
I'm not a Josh Giddey guy.
What?
I'm not a Josh Giddey guy.
I don't think they win without Giddey.
In this scenario, but if that's the case,
I'm talking about
then you
at all.
Shea off the ball, right? Well,
I'm talking about in general.
In general, yeah, they don't.
Like in terms of what, like you mean going forward? Like
he's got the best court vision in that team.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just so hard to take the ball out of Shea's hands.
He has to be off the ball.
But Shea has the same problem we've been saying about Luka. He has to learn how to play off the ball and let Josh get him going. I think Josh is the missing guy.
And remember 2 years ago, we were raving about Josh Giddey. And all of a sudden,
it's just too much Ben Simmons to me. Is like they are playing him in the paint. I'll stick 10 feet away from you and let you shoot, and it's not working for them.
That's because he's not able to initiate the offense.
But that's my point. If you're playing 10 feet out, how do you expect him to initiate the offense?
You put the ball in his hands. You got to put the ball in his hands.
Well, yeah. I'm sure they're doing that a little bit, but are you going to do that consistently? It's just, in my opinion, it's not. It would never.
I would.
I mean, you got Williams, who's a scorer. You got Shea, that's a scorer, and you got Chet. Those are your three primary scorers. Dort is a defensive guy.
Yeah, Shea's
he's also a scorer.
He's also a scorer, but he's a defensive guy primarily.
Like, I don't think now is the playoffs for your second. Now in the playoffs,
Giddey's a distribution guy.
Yeah, and I agree with that. No issues there. I'm just saying you don't wait till the second round of the playoffs where you have the second place MVP guy on your team and
make adjustments.
Yes, with 30 points when you guys averaging 30 points a game. I don't think like, hey, Josh, now you run the offense and
he still won't get 30.
Screen and knock down a three.
But the problem is Luka hasn't even shot well yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
And they're in trouble.
Yes,
and he hasn't even shot well yet. So that's what I'm saying. Something.
Yeah, I guess if you're saying is like last resort. We got it. You're right. Okay, good.
Yeah, something has to change.
Yeah. So we'll see. And again, I don't know if it'll be here in game.
I'm a Giddey fan.
Game 4.
So
I don't know if it'll be in game 4, but especially if they lose that game, then you would definitely expect to see a switch. I'm not sure if they'll do it. If Coach Dagnall will do it here in game 4, maybe he should, as Matt's saying, just to see what kind of look they get with that. But Giddey has been kind of phased out of that rotation in the second half of some of these games.
That's the problem. Yeah. I think that's the problem. I'm a Giddey fan. I actually think Giddey really does well when he's able to initiate, and I think it makes him a better scorer when he can initiate. Yeah. Unlike Ben, he actually has some traction. He can move. he gets more aggressive when
He
he
can
goes
hit a
to the
mid-range
rack.
jumper
Yeah,
every
he
now
can
and
hit a
again.
And he
mid-range.
can hit the occasional three. Like, don't get me
Right,
wrong, he's not
right.
he's not a Ben Simmons shooter in that aspect, but not obviously not great. And you're right, maybe something has to change. We'll see if it is, because the games have been close. It's not like Dallas has been blowing them out. OKC took game 1 at home, close games in 2 and 3. We'll see how they come out in game 4, which is tonight at 9:30. Dallas small favorites in that one, but this has been a fun series, and again, could go either way. I think, Matt, we're gonna stick with Dallas.
Yep.
And Jason going to stick with OKC.
I have to. I picked him. I have to stick with him. There you go.
That's right. How it goes there. So anything else you guys want to hit for the NBA playoffs the rest of the way? Anything stand out? Anything you're looking to pay attention to specifically?
No, I'm just enjoying the physical play.
I am too.
The
I'm
games.
with you 100%.
Games have been really good. So.
And again, this is not a topic, but it just came in my head, so I'm going to ask you. I know you hang out on social media a lot. You see those Ricky Pearsall clips, those routes of Ricky Pearsall out there? Yeah, just saying. I just want to get your opinion. It was a funny thing because he wears 14 because that's what Darnold wore last year. And somebody's like, man, Sam Darnold looks a lot better this year.
We'll see what happens, man. Ricky Pearsall, I'm not feeling it, bro. But
Clip this, Dennis. Clip this. And then about week 6 or 7, we're going to play it after he scores a couple touchdowns.
Well, since we talking NFL, we switch gears.
That's right.
Opening night.
There we
September
go.
5th, Arrowhead.
Announced today.
Ravens, Chiefs. They set us up
AFC
again.
Championship rematch, right? And just to go back, because this came in my hat earlier, you talked about the LeBron argument and the MVPs. Yeah. Same thing goes for Mahomes, right? Mahomes could have won MVPs every year. We didn't say that earlier, but it's kind of like the same argument there.
Derrick Henry got to run 30 times a game to win that game. He got to get 30 carries in that opening game. He got to run him in the ground.
Quick outlook. I'm going to bring up the team over-unders here in a second. But thoughts on the opening game? Chiefs-Ravens. We're back into football season. We're seeing the rookies report for camp. We're seeing those clips, as I alluded to, of all these guys taking the field. Jason, what are you most excited for here ahead of training camp and the preseason?
I'm excited to see what Action Jackson and King Henry are going to do in that backfield this season. I'm excited for that, man.
Yeah, I'm not excited at all.
For the Ravens?
No,
it's
his team.
Oh, talk a little bit about you think Purdy can take that next step for the Niners this year?
I'm not happy, bro. Not happy.
They didn't do anything enough for him in the offseason.
Didn't do enough, man.
I know what you like. I know you like what the Eagles did, though.
The Eagles did good, unfortunately.
I knew you'd like that, yeah.
I don't like it, but it happened. Sure.
That's true. Let's go over some of the over-unders, and it starts at the top with your Ravens, Jason. They have tied for the third, or the number one over-under in terms of wins, 11.5 for Baltimore this upcoming season. That's number one, along with the Niners and the Chiefs. Both your guys' teams set with 11.5 over-under wins. You guys taking the over and the under on your squads?
Going under.
I don't think the over, but it's going to be 12. Like, it's not going to be like.
Yeah, hey, that's all that matters. That's all you need,
take
right?
over,
12. So
12.
under for the Niners, 11.5. Over for 11.5 for the Ravens. Eagles coming in at 10.5. Just a game alongside the Cowboys, the Lions, the Bengals, and the Bills. So let me ask you this question: which team do you think has the better or most wins out of those four? 10.5. Cowboys, Eagles, Lions, Bengals, and Bills. And I want to say, and I was just about to say, people forget the Joe Burrow factor, right? This last year, Joe Burrow, when he plays, the Bengals are tough to beat, especially come playoff
every year.
But he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, it's on, off, on. So this is going to be an on year for them again.
That's right.
Bengals.
T. Higgins demanding a trade. Trey Hendrickson demanding a trade. We'll see how
I
that
don't like none of those teams. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I agree, but
and then you got the Jets, Dolphins, Packers. I'm all over the Packers this year. I made it said I love what the Bears did in the draft. I'm all over the Packers.
You like what the Bears did?
I like what the Bears did in the draft. I think I love the Bears over 8.5 wins. I'm going to take that for everybody.
8.5 wins.
8.5 for the Bears. So give me 9.
Because of Caleb?
Everybody. They upgraded their entire roster.
Because of sweetness.
I don't do that. The only one sweetness, and he wasn't sweet.
Well,
but I like the Packers as kind of that 9.5. Give me the Packers over that, and then the Texans are sitting there at 9.5 too.
Give me the Texans. I'm taking the Texans up, man.
I think the Texans are the scariest team going into the season. Of all NFL teams, Texans are the scariest team.
They get Diggs in the offseason.
Before Diggs.
Hunter.
This is before Diggs. They were the scariest team before Diggs because what they did last year with their top receivers getting hurt during the season, all that kind of stuff. I really like with a healthy team this year. Then you add Danielle Hunter and you add Diggs.
And we've been talking. I've been a CJ Stroud fan for years. I used to talk about Ohio State. I said clearly he was my number one ranked player in that draft. I love CJ Stroud. He's been really on the media circuit here in the last. He's been talking a lot. I mean, not that I'm not opposed. You can say whatever you want. He's
everybody podcast. Everybody podcast.
I know, but he really can just wants to say whatever he wants to say. I think he's been. I think he's wild.
He spread the gospel. Jesus Christ. No, he's a
he's
Black Tim Tebow. You know that already, right?
Hey, maybe
spread
that's
it out.
not
At least, unlike Tebow, he has talent. But yeah.
Oh man, come on.
Trash.
Oh my God.
TRASH.
That's a fact.
Was over 500 record as a starter.
What'd you say? You said what?
Over 500 record as a starter in the NFL.
What is that?
How many quarterbacks
That's
have
What, like
over
15
500?
games?
Yeah, it's like 15 games.
16 games, a whole season. 9 and 7.
16
9
games.
and 7.
Over
Okay.
4 years.
And a playoff win. And then never, I will say, even
And
if
an
you would say the
overrated-
talent was never there, 9 and 7 as a starter, a playoff win, and then never played again. How about that? Is that not just crazy, not even to ever play again after that?
No, it's not.
You
Are
win a
you
playoff
serious?
game and then you never play
You're
again.
not serious right
I'm
now.
dead serious.
Well, let's look at his
100%
stats.
serious.
Let's look at his stats.
Yeah, hey, I only look at one stats, and that's wins.
I look at the 47% passing.
I
rate.
look
That's
at
what I look
one
at.
stat, it's wins.
If he switched to tight end, he would have been still playing in the league.
He did switch to tight end. He got cut
He
by
got
Urban
cut.
Meyer. So
No,
college
had he
coach.
switched earlier when the Jets wanted him to switch
Hey,
to tight end.
I thought he was.
Look, man.
But-
Overrated
never-
college career, overrated pro career.
Can't say overrated college. Overrated. Maybe you could argue
Overrated college,
not
man.
overrated college.
Tommy Frazier better. All right, let's go.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, Tommy
Anyway,
Frazier is
I'm
better.
sorry. I promise you
Charlie
we have
Ward,
credibility
too.
on this show. I'm telling you we've got credibility. Don't listen to everything everybody says. We are good.
So, okay, 95 Nebraska's not a top 5 team of all
No, I
time?
didn't say. I'm just saying Tim Tebow.
Because who ran the quarterback on that one?
Tommy Frazier.
Tommy Frazier. What are you talking about?
So, well, no, wait. So, we go here. So, you're saying you'll take Tim Tebow over Tommy Frazier and Charlie Ward?
Yes.
Got you.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's more crazy. He's not serious.
Everything. I'm serious.
He's
I'm
not
dead
serious. He's not serious. He's not
College
serious.
game's a different game. Different
Dog, you're a Florida guy.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to anything you got to say about
That's fine.
Florida.
You can feel that way.
You
That's how
said
wanna
Taking
feel.
Tebow over Charlie Ward and Tommy Frazier?
Taking him over everybody. There's not one player I would. Let me think.
Are you on
Yeah,
crack?
I would say Cam Newton's
We
1
need
year
to
at
start doing
Auburn.
drug testing on this show.
What?
What?
Cam Newton's 1 year at Auburn was fantastic in terms
So
of
you,
career.
you really believe this guy is the best college quarterback of all time?
I do.
What showed you this?
Did Tommy Frazier win a national championship as a freshman?
So what?
So now we're doing the so what game here? So what did Tommy Frazier do? Give me something that Tommy Frazier did.
He's on one of the greatest.
So
teams of all
what?
time.
So what? So what?
Charlie Ward, Heisman,
So what?
everything. Only college football player to be drafted #1.
So wait a minute, is he the reason why they won the title as a freshman? He the only reason?
No, God, no. It's
No, but that's what you're saying, though. If you
No,
put it out there.
I'm just saying he was a big part.
No, I don't
Touchdowns in
count
that
team
game.
accomplishments, man.
You
That
don't
ain't the
count
only
team
thing.
accomplishments.
No, it's a team award there. I'm talking about what your man did per numbers, bruh.
Oh my God, you want to look it up? We can look it
Freshman,
up.
yeah.
Oh, you want freshman numbers?
Yeah, well, you just
Oh, yeah,
you bragged about it.
I don't want to take
this should be elite.
Well, yeah, but you want to go over the numbers? The numbers were sophomore,
Elite
junior,
freshman
and
year?
junior
Elite freshman year
No,
as
he came
QB?
out- not elite, but good.
But
as a
no, but they
freshman.
should be elite,
Nobody
though.
has elite freshman years.
But if the way you talking, it should be elite though.
Why? Why is that?
Because
Why
you
does it have to be?
you putting
Wait,
that out there. as-
wait,
But if
as
you're
the-
saying if Tommy Frazier's the
'Cause you're
most elite
making it the
quarterback
bar,
of all time,
but you're
then you
making
got
it
to
the-
tell me he did it as a freshman. Then is that
I
what
didn't
you're
say he's the
arguing?
greatest quarterback of all time.
Oh, okay,
I said
who's
he had a
your
better
favorite
career
quarterback?
than your man.
Who's
That's
your
what I
favorite
said.
quarterback of all? Who do you think is the best college quarterback of all time?
Man, I don't know.
Now,
That's
that,
tough.
it's not Tebow.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
don't-
Well, give me somebody then. Give me
It's
somebody.
not
it is.
Tebow.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not Tebow.
Well, I got
That's a good
time.
question.
Well, maybe we'll have to
That's a good
dedicate. Maybe we'll
question.
dedicate in a segment.
That's a
next
really
week.
good question.
And
I'm
we'll
not
do it
even
next
trying to.
week, yeah.
I'm not even trying to.
It's a great argument, but
Yeah.
it's not definitely.
Yeah, I don't even know who I would put, man.
It's tough. It's
That's
a
a
tough
tough
question.
Best college quarterback? Well, that's saying a
Man,
lot.
give me Red.
Like if we're
Grange.
doing best, if we're doing best seasons, like you could argue Cam Newton's season would maybe
guess
the
what?
best.
I'm gonna give you this. I'll take Vince Young's college career over Tim Tebow's.
Now, see, I can't. If you're talking about again, if you're doing 1 year, if you were to put it in a vacuum and do which year was the best, you could have that Vince Young year as an argument. You'd have Cam Newton. I think that year's
Cam Newton,
definitely
yeah, that one year.
Joe Burrow in 20 or whatever the.
If you're talking about 1 year, you might have to put Vince Young there.
Maybe. Yeah, if we're doing 1 year.
About single season.
Single season. We've gotten way off topic.
Sorry, guys, but you got guys riled up with that
Hey,
greatest college
that's what I'm
quarterback
here for.
question, man.
What about Joe Burrow?
That's I just said Joe, single season. Like if I were to do single season for those the four I would name was Tebow's sophomore year when he won the Heisman because he had like 100 touchdowns.
We just watched Jaden Daniels this past season.
Yeah,
What about his numbers? This past season alone.
Mac Jones got good years too. You got good years.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You look at like, even Kyler, but I'm saying those three that we said Vince Young, Cam Newton, and Joe Burrow. I think are the three like years that could be. I mean, and just in recently, you definitely go back. Yeah, but those were three for
But
sure.
yeah, but like I said, I'm still the Charlie Ward and Tommy Frazier.
I might go Vince Young, honestly.
I saw that.
I mean, you're talking about
I
single
like Vince
season.
Young. Yeah, could be. No doubt. If we're talking single season.
I mean,
no
he
doubt.
beat USC
in one of the biggest games of all time.
He had 20 plus touchdown passes, over 1,000
It's
yards
crazy.
rushing.
I mean, it was an unbelievable season. To go back though quickly before we continue on the Vince Young thing, Cam Newton that season with Cam, they won the national championship.
Yep.
He was the only player on the offense
Make the NFL.
that played an offensive snap
In the
in the
NFL.
NFL. I mean, that's mind-boggling.
That is
isn't it? That's
mind-boggling.
the most insane thing.
Yeah.
And that's why you maybe have to throw Cam Newton up there.
Oh no, Cam has been one of the better quarterbacks, college and NFL, in recent memory. People
Yeah,
don't give
no
him
doubt.
credit for it.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Like, that's just put it out there. I mean,
Love Cam
it's
Newton.
just what it is. Like, I mean, Cam changed the way the game was played.
Yeah. No, again, that MVP year that he took the Panthers to the Super Bowl. I mean, maybe not one of the most great Super Bowls to watch with the Panthers and the Broncos that year with Peyton
Cam
Manning not
Newton-
being able to throw and stuff like that. But Cam that year was unbelievable.
Cam Newton walked so Josh Allen could run.
Wow.
When we think about the same build, Josh likes to run the ball.
And if Cam was able to able to stay a little bit healthier like Josh Allen somehow is able to do, he would have, I mean, the career would have been even.
If they gave Cam real wide receivers.
Cam had no throwing mechanics, though.
Yeah,
see, and that's the
Throwing
part.
mechanics is.
Yeah,
But
I'm
also,
looking at
if
him.
he had more consistent wide
And it's not like
receiver
he
play.
couldn't
I
throw
love
because
you,
he
Cam.
could, but it was
I
the
love you.
mechanics.
I love you, Cam. I'm talking strictly from a coaching perspective, though. The mechanics was nasty.
Cam threw like a bigger McNabb
Let's just get one thing
to the ground. Boom.
We would be remiss if we didn't add one more thing, though. We got to talk about the NBA draft lottery. That just
Oh yeah,
happened.
we're gonna touch that quickly before we get
Yeah,
to the NBA. Last thing for football, Jared Goff, huge contract extension to Detroit.
Crack.
A lot of people thought, maybe they were gonna in a couple
Crack.
years they would go a different direction. Maybe he would be the guy. Nope, he's gonna be their guy in Detroit. 4 years, over $200 million.
53 season.
Jason McCall, Matthew Maurer, thoughts on Jared Goff long term locked up in Detroit?
Somebody been in the other dungeons of Detroit, in some of them back alleys and streets, giving them that much money. Ain't no way.
So are we all gonna sit here in 4 years and look back and go like, this was the wrong? Is this a move in 2 years where?
It's moving 2 years.
Because let me tell you, and we see this a lot, right? Detroit had their big year last year, right? It was
Yep.
the big year.
Yep.
They get to the NFC Championship. Now they
Yep.
get everybody's getting these contracts. We've seen that not work out in the past after
Yep.
teams have went on these runs. I like Jared Goff only, and I don't say only in this offense, but this is the best case scenario for him. We've
sure.
seen him in other
Yeah.
situations. He was good with Sean McVay, who isn't. And then he's been great for Detroit. But 4 years, to me, I don't want to say it was a Cinderella run.
$212 million?
Because I mean, you guys remember me coming in. I was
Yeah.
all over the Lions
Yeah, yeah.
coming into the season, and they lived up to what I said. But when new teams go on a run like that and they go to the NFC Championship with a guy like Jared Goff, who I like, but I don't think he's elite,
Yeah.
and then you lock him up to a 4-year deal, I just don't. And again, if you're Detroit, I can see why they did it, I guess.
Yeah.
I personally probably wouldn't have done it. But then the question comes up, the same thing with Dak and Dallas, is if you don't do it, then what do you do? Where do you go? For a team that's ready to win now. So I understand it. I just might not have done it.
The problem is the Detroit Lions are a team like the Chicago Bears. They've never had a good quarterback in their history. So they're going to make reaches.
Watch your mouth
Well,
talking
Stafford,
about Scott
right?
Mitchell.
Matthew Stafford.
They're going to make reaches.
Dan Orlovsky.
They've never had a great quarterback in their history.
Didn't they have a good one back in like the 40s?
Matt Stafford
I
had
would say
numbers.
Matt Stafford's got to be the best one.
At Bobby Lane?
Had numbers, but what did they win?
Nothing, just one playoff game, I think.
And they did Rodney Pete dirty in the 90s, but we're going to leave it alone for a second. So we're going to go there. Yeah.
That's because it was Rodney Pete.
Yeah. So the teams like that, you have to pay because this is the best quarterback play you've seen in recent memory.
And that's it. And I agree with you on that. Does that make it the right move?
To keep that fan base and keep the team structured together, like
And I
consistency.
can't say I disagree with you, right? And that's what I can't say. I can't disagree with you because maybe you are right. It's just to me, you're right. For a team like Detroit, if it was a team like the Niners or a team that had a success like the Steelers or the Ravens year and half, that might not be something
I
they
wouldn't
would have
have
done,
thrown-
right?
I
Yeah, they
wouldn't
wouldn't have
have
done
done
that. Detroit, they do it. What do you see from Detroit next year and then going forward the next 4 years? They're a young team. They're supposed to be now built to win for the future. How do you think they're going to do in a tough NFC that seems to keep getting better?
The problem I have with these quarterback prices is that long term, the more value you give towards your quarterback, the harder it becomes to build talent around them. So right now they got guys under contract. They got
They just signed Amon-Ra too. Yep.
Signed Amon-Ra. You got Jameson Williams who comes up I think in 2 years.
rookie deal. Jameer Gibbs rookie deal
Laporta,
still.
Taylor Decker, I think, this is his last year there. So they got some guys that they got to still take care of. But at the end of the day, I think the problem I have with a guy like Jared Goff is you got to set that table phenomenal for him to have like real success.
And we saw that last year. That was exactly it. They had it perfectly
Yeah.
set up. Number 1 offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs' rookie running back was great. David Montgomery was fantastic. Maybe the one best
Exactly.
1-2 punch in the league.
Correct.
And then you add on Amon-Ra St. Brown on the outside, and the defense played better, and it was almost a perfect storm for them this year.
It almost was, but I tell you, I don't know, man. Like this, I get why they did it. I can't really give them any flack for doing it. But at the end of the day,
That's how I feel about it.
it's like that's a lot to
And I'm
invest
telling you, they're
in
going to be
Jared
one
Goff.
of. We talk about the AFC North as one of the fun divisions for us all to watch. I think the AFC East is going to be fun next year with what they've done. Aaron Rodgers coming back, but to me, I'm loving the NFC North. I think that's going to be one of the most fun divisions to watch. With the Vikings getting J.J. McCarthy, I think Jordan Love and the Packers are going to be one of the most talented and impressive teams we see next year. You got the Lions coming off an NFC Championship, and then you got the Bears with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze and a couple other offseason acquisitions that they're supposed to be decent as well. So I think the NFC North is going to be a lot of fun this year.
We'll see.
Hey, you said that about the Lions last year, and
I have
they
no faith in
looked up.
Chicago. I gotta be honest with you.
I know. I don't think you. I think both you guys are low on Chicago. So you guys taking the under 8.5 on the Bears.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. With that being said, let's jump into the NBA draft lottery over the weekend. And what we saw was the Atlanta Hawks go from the 10th best odds to snatching up that number 1 pick.
Yeah, it was pretty
Matthew
incredible.
Maurer in a draft that doesn't have a lot of people excited, but it
Yeah.
still is a NBA draft coming up here in a few months. Hawks got the number 1 pick, so that kind of shifts a bunch of things there. I want your initial thoughts on the way the lottery unfolded, your thoughts on the upcoming draft, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Hawks here specifically.
I mean, you never know with the lottery. I mean, I think it's the one thing that people complain about because, like in the NFL, they don't have that situation. It's the worst. They get the number 1 pick, so a lot of people get kind of pissed off. So, like Detroit, for example, they get the 5th pick, and like a lot of people are like, this is bull crap. So it's like I get it. It frustrates a lot of people, but I think also at the same time, this is why it's done because a lot of people do tank. And look, Atlanta, this is the first time I think in their history they've ever had the number 1 pick. I think they'll probably take Sarr from Australia. Washington, they just need talent. So probably they take, Zachary Richet from France. Houston's going to be interesting because
And they were good the second half of the year.
they were good the second half, but they got to figure out who they want to build around. So they have Jalen Green. Do they want to build around Jalen Green or do they want to build around Sengun? I think the smart money
Sengun
would be on
looks good.
Sengun to me.
I'm with you.
Again, another guy from overseas that
Yeah.
we're saying is good.
Sengun when healthy.
Shocker.
Sengun when healthy was
Very yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, I would build around him. So the question is, do you take Buzelis? Do you take Reed Shepard? Who I think is I think that's crazy to me. I wouldn't take him that early.
What I saw from him in the NCAA tournament, I know it's a small sample size,
Yeah.
but he just looked like he just wasn't ready for that next level. But
No.
Will look like Boo Boo out there.
Yeah. Do you take Topic from Serbia? So they got some choices to make there with Houston. San Antonio will be interesting because
Number 4, number 8 pick.
yeah, they got the 4 and 8. And there's been talk that maybe they'll grab Edey in one of these picks.
wow, really?
For
that
what?
high?
That's the talk. I wouldn't take Edey that high.
They want a Wemby, Edie.
I wouldn't. I would not go Twin Towers. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would be.
I'd
I'd
be-
be shocked.
I
if they
would
did that.
package the number 4 pick and a
let
player
me,
for somebody else.
Be play devil's advocate here, right? We talk a lot about this draft being, not the
Mid.
best draft in the world. If you
Yeah.
want to say mid,
Yeah.
not as talked about. The hype's not there, right?
Correct.
So, if you are San Antonio, would this be maybe the draft to do something like that and take an Edie or someone that's not projected to go that high? Because no one really, is really standing out from the
No,
pack.
I think this is the draft you
trade.
bank on other people's desperation.
Yeah.
And you say, look, I got the 4th pick. What are you going to give me? And they'll be like, here's some future picks. And you say, great. Here you
Well, yeah,
go.
see, I agree too.
I'm
I just
getting
wonder how many
future
teams
picks
are
and a
going to do
player.
that. With next year's draft being, the big one, a lot of teams are looking to kind of swap picks for next year. So we'll see how
Yeah.
successful they are.
And Klingon could go high, too.
I like
Klingon's going to go high.
Yeah, I think Klingon's go
And then going back to the international thing, it's
Yeah.
part of that hype we talked about because of all these international players in this draft. A lot of people don't know about them. Does that have to do with the lack of hype here?
A little lack of hype is because these guys aren't. They're not.
So you think it's talent?
They're not superstars.
And
Yeah,
I know
they're
that's what I'm saying. So
superstars
it's
over
more
there.
talent than international.
Probably Nikola Topic is probably the best star player, I guess you would say. The other guys are emerging guys like Zachary Richet. He kind of developed just this year. You have Tidjane Salon, another French kid who's probably going to be in the teens. And Alexander Sarr, he played for overtime and then went over to Australia for the year. His brother played for Kentucky a couple years back.
Oh, that's right.
I think Sarge would go number one though.
I think if I'm Atlanta, if Atlanta keeps
Seems
the
to
pick,
be
they
that
should
way.
take him.
It seems like Atlanta's going to go that way, and then
Yeah.
that raises the next question. Right now, though, Celtics 53-50. Cleveland
Yeah,
coming back
I
at home.
gotta
4
get
minutes to go in the first
Yeah.
half. But
Then caught up.
so now here to end it though,
Yeah.
a lot of talk now. They've got the number 1 pick. The
Yep.
talk before Atlanta had the number 1 pick was Trae Young was going to be on the move. They're looking to move Trae Young.
That's what they said.
Odds are he won't be a Hawk next year. We said that about John Collins, and I mean over the years we've heard that and stuff has happened. Odds are Trae Young's not going to be. People got really upset when we sat on the show and talked about the Suns trading Kevin Durant. Do you remember a week or two ago?
Got
I'm telling
upset.
you guys need to listen and watch some basketball. He will not. I'm telling you right now, one of those guys is not going to be a Sun. Everybody said we were crazy. Like they can't keep that roster together.
No.
And not to mention the Brunson argument we got in a few weeks ago. No time for that. I'm losing my train of thought. Oh my goodness, losing my train of thought here. I don't even know where I was.
Trae Young,
going. Trae Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where does Trae Young go? Lakers have been rumored around as the number 1 option there, particularly with some of the assets. They got to give Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura with the contracts to kind of make that work. A few picks. Where does Trae Young go?
I think Trae Young stays put. I think they're going
Ooh.
to trade DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, I would keep Young if I was them.
I think
don't
Murray
disagree
get
with you guys. I think Trae Young's gone.
I think Murray has a better trade value out of the two of them,
I think Trae Young.
which is crazy to say. But
I'm telling you, I
but
think
do you
Murray
understand where I'm
stays.
coming from with that though? Like,
I think Murray stays.
I think Murray has a better trade value. I do.
I think you're probably right. Unfortunately, it's crazy.
So is Trae Young? I mean, whoever it is, rather be. I think the
Trae Young
Lakers.
stays.
Lakers are a team to go. I think Trae Young.
Trae Young
Hopefully not
stays.
to the Lakers because I don't want to
See,
see
I
it.
don't know if Trae Young plays winning basketball, man.
Yeah, hey,
I know
Did
it's
take the Hawks to
controversial.
the Eastern Conference Finals.
That was
but
a
I
fluke.
agree- But I agree with you. I
Oh
do.
my God! I just talked about a North American player not being a winner. I'm sorry. The people are idiots out here. I'm sorry.
I'm telling you.
So guys, if you're really why me and Matt are acting like this time on the show, we've been getting a bunch of flack on Instagram and Facebook over the past few weeks
Hey,
about our takes on the show, and
too.
we've been getting trolls from everywhere. No, all 3 of us have been getting trolls from everywhere. We've had to put a few in their place. So
If Mark Cuban had the choice, it's not even an option. He would have had Brunson for $23 million. Like it's not even a choice. You save all those picks, you get Brunson for that kind of money. Oh no, they have Kyrie. He's not even thinking about that. No, he is. He's still thinking about that.
Still thinking
it could
about
have. Oh my God, things could have been way.
Why would you not
different.
want to pay less to get like,
and keep
to
all
get
those
younger?
first round picks?
It doesn't
It
even make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
So I'm saying some of you guys just be talking. Shut the hell up, man. Stop coming on to the Instagram saying stupid shit.
And if you do,
man.
and if you do, again, we
You
would
know what I'm
love.
saying.
We would love to zoom you in if you want to come make a comment there. We'll bring you live here on the show.
Zoom your dumb ass
And
in.
you can talk to us live right here on DETV. We're going to close out before we get kicked off the channel.
guys don't
For
like-
Jason and Matthew, Dennis behind the glass.
Don't like Jokic.
Nick Allison Jr. We will see you next week. Playoffs in full swing.